One of the best iPad upgrades that we've seen in recent years was the M4 iPad Pro. With its drastically thinner and lighter form factor, beautiful tandem OLED display, the blazing fast M4 processor, and the all-new Magic Keyboard to go with it, it took the iPad experience next level. It was the iPad that became my favorite Apple gadget and ended up replacing my MacBook as well. And I've done tons of videos on this channel going over that experience of how the M4 iPad Pro ended up being my main computer, not just for content consumption, but also content creation. You can check all those videos out on my channel. But now Apple is slated to release its successor, the successor to the M4 iPad Pro this fall. And in today's video, I'm going to go over 4 big upgrades that it's rumored to have. And the first one is a no-brainer. It's the all-new M5 chip. There was a time when Apple would release its big new flagship chip with MacBooks, but now it's kind of changed that ever since the M4 iPad Pro was announced, because for the first time we got an M4 chip that was not seen at all on any previous MacBook. We saw it on the iPad for the first time, and then it trickled down to the Macs. And just like last year, Apple's about to do the same thing where they're going to announce the M5 chip to come out on the iPad Pro first before it trickles down to the MacBooks and the iMac. However, there are not a lot of details on this new M5 chip, but we can expect the standard boosts to CPU, GPU, and the neural engine. Also, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Apple really marketed this new M5 chip as something that was built for enhanced artificial intelligence performance. Because I think over the past year or so, it feels like that has become Apple's big marketing focus, to really showcase Apple Intelligence, the all-new AI features, and how their chips can handle it very, very well. Like for example, even with the 7th generation iPad mini came out with the A17 Pro processor, Apple didn't really focus too much on the messaging when it came to performance. It focused more on Apple Intelligence. And when the M4 iPad Pro came out, Apple Intelligence didn't really exist, so there was not a lot of conversation about AI. In fact, they never talked about AI that much at all when they announced the M4 iPad Pro, but I think things will change this year with the M5 chip. Now, the next upgrade is quite an interesting one. You see, last year with the M4 model, Apple finally moved its front-facing camera from portrait mode to landscape on the iPad Pro. Now I have this report from 9to5Mac where Mark Gurman is reporting that Apple is planning to add a camera back to the portrait side while keeping the existing landscape camera as well. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this sort of sounds confusing at first, and I was almost scratching my head when I first read this, but the more I thought about it, the more it kind of made sense. Because the first thing that this means is that the iPad is going to be great when it comes to FaceTime calls or any video conferences at all, both in landscape and portrait. So this is going to be one of the first Apple devices ever where we're going to see 2 cameras on different sides of the display. But at the same time, it's also kind of strange because Apple wouldn't just bring 2 cameras for the very first time ever on an Apple gadget. Not only does it look odd, but even from a selling point, what is the purpose behind that? So I think Apple is going to do a lot more than just, unlock another way of making FaceTime calls, right? What I think they're going to do is also unlock other features that are on the Mac, for example, like desk view, and perhaps even multi-cam features. And only time will tell what Apple is really planning with these 2 front-facing cameras, one being in landscape and one being in portrait. The third feature is regarding RAM. With the M4 iPad Pro, Apple had a 2-tiered approach to RAM. If you bought a model with 1 terabyte of storage or higher, you would get 16 gigs of RAM. But the more popular storage options below that only came with 8 gigs of RAM. So if you went for 1 terabyte or higher, you're getting double the RAM. But you see, a lot of things have changed from the release of the M4 iPad Pro and now. For example, iPadOS 26 has been unveiled with major productivity features. Apple has made all M4 Macs start at 16 gigabytes of RAM, and RAM-hungry AI features have only grown more and more. So for all these reasons, I think Apple is going to keep it very simple across the lineup and give all the iPad Pros 16 gigs of RAM. Lastly, the next upgrade is regarding Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi standards evolve all the time. The latest is Wi-Fi 7. Right now, the M4 iPad Pro only supports Wi-Fi 6E, but Apple adopted Wi-Fi 7 last fall in its entire iPhone 16 lineup. And also the maximum transfer speed of Wi-Fi 6E that we currently have on the iPad Pro is around 9 gigabits per second. But with Wi-Fi 7, we expect the maximum transfer speeds to go up to 46 gigabits per second. It's literally 5 times faster than the current generation. All right, so that basically wraps up all the rumors regarding the updates that we'll be seeing with the new M5 iPad Pro. But one upgrade that I really want Apple to make is allowing the nano texture glass display to be an option option for all iPad Pros, not just the higher storage ones. Because last year when Apple announced this new display, a lot of people were excited, including myself, because for the very first time, you're getting this really nice matte-like smooth, display that removes a lot of glare and reflections. And it's specifically great for video editors and photo editors. So a lot of people were excited, but then they realized that, obviously it's an expensive add-on, but it's only an expensive add-on for the already expensive iPads with the higher storage. And if you're someone who wants a, for example, 256 or 500 gigabyte storage iPad, it's not even an option for you. Now, in conclusion, Apple might have some surprises in store for us this fall, but based on the current rumors that I'm reading about the M5 iPad Pro, it only seems like a minor spec bump and not a huge upgrade. But that also makes sense, right? Because Apple doesn't really make a lot of big updates to their iPads every single year, and Apple made a pretty big upgrade with the M4 iPad Pro. So I feel like this new M5 iPad Pro is basically for those who are on a M2 iPad Pro or an M2 or M3 iPad Air, and they want to make a jump to the new M5 iPad Pro. I think this is going to be a great upgrade for people with those devices. If you have the M4 iPad Pro, nothing really tells me that this is going to be a worthy upgrade. But once again, Apple isn't making this for the M4 iPad Pro users. They're making it for the people with the older generations to jump to this one. And I think the one that we should really wait out for is for the M6 iPad Pro. And that's probably for those who have the M4 iPad Pro so that you actually see a difference. But at the end of the day, I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about these new features that Apple's bringing to the M5 iPad Pro? And what features do you personally want to see the iPad have in general? Let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you next time.